What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and on today's video we're comparing the Puma Deviate Nitro with the New Balance 1080 version 11. Some of you may be thinking, Matt, why are you comparing a plated trainer with a non-plated trainer? These two shoes are remarkably similar. It's remarkable. So first of all, I'm going to tell you how these shoes are similar, why I decided to compare them for you guys. Then, I've run a fair bit in both of these shoes. I'm going to tell you how they differ. And at the end, I'm going to tell you which one, if you had to choose one, which one you should choose. First, let's talk about price. The Puma Deviate Nitro retails for $160 US. The New Balance 1080 version 11 retails at $150. However, Puma seems to have a lot of discounts online that you can find, so you're probably not going to be paying full price for these shoes. So I'd say that kind of keeps them in line, although I bet you can pick up the Deviate Nitros for less than the New Balance 1080 version 11. The Deviate Nitros have an engineered mesh upper. The New Balance 1080 version 11 has an engineered hyper knit. This shoe runs a bit warmer than this shoe. Obviously, you've got like a knitted jumper around your feet. You remember my initial impressions of this shoe? It gained 25% of weight just because of sweat. And while we're talking about weight, New Balance claims that the men's size 9 in the 1080 version 11 comes in at 9.4 ounces or 268 grams. In my size, men's 13 in the US, it tips the scales at 10.9 ounces or 308 grams. Puma says men's size 9 in the Deviate Nitro rings in at 9.3 ounces or 263 grams. So just a tad less than the 1080 version 11s. However, in my size, the Deviate Nitros ring in at 11.4 ounces or 324 grams. Both shoes have a gusseted tongue. Both shoes have linguine-shaped laces. The Deviate Nitro uses a nitro foam. The New Balance 1080 version 11 uses Fresh Foam X. 32 in the heel, 24 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. 30 in the heel, 22 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. The Deviate Nitro has Puma grip on the outside, which is very much like a blown rubber, which is exactly what the New Balance 1080 version 11 has. Now you might remember from my full review on this shoe, I was noticing a little bit of wear. Now I still think this is definitely a 400 to 500 mile shoe, but I am seeing the wear. I haven't even got 50 miles in this shoe yet, so very unlikely I'm going to see the same amount of wear on this shoe. On the 1080 version 11, we have these flex grooves running through the blown rubber, which makes it very, very flexible. The Deviate Nitro doesn't really need the flex grooves because it has a carbon fiber composite plate running through the midsole, which makes it less flexible. But honestly, if you're buying a plated shoe, you don't want the same kind of flexibility. So the Deviate Nitro has the nitro foam, which is remarkably squishy. However, Puma has addressed this squishiness by putting the carbon fiber plate through the midsole, and then we have a TPU heel piece of plastic that just slots right in, and that also gives it some stability. You look at this Fresh Foam X, and look, you see how squishy it is. See how squishy it is? You would think this is a very plush ride. It is not as plush as it looks. So what we've got are two max cushion trainers, marketed as a daily trainer, marketed as an up-tempo trainer, with the same drop and not the same kind of responsiveness, because it is very unfair to say that a non-plated shoe is as responsive as a plated shoe, but they're not worlds apart. And that is the main reason I wanted to compare these two shoes. So if you've run in a plated running shoe, you know there is a distinct feeling. When you land on your midfoot or forefoot, there is a distinct feeling of being propelled forward. And that's the whole point of putting a plate in your shoe. It gives kind of a lever action which moves you through the gait cycle. And you might be thinking, well, Matt, that sounds really good. Why would I not want to run in a plated shoe? Well, the New Balance 1080 version 11 is remarkably responsive for not having a carbon plate. To be honest, it rides completely different to this shoe, but that doesn't take anything away from the 1080 version 11. This is a squishy ride, which you can still pick up the pace and it feels good. Now, I wouldn't describe the feeling of the gait cycle the same as I would with the Deviate Nitro, but I've got no complaints with the 1080 version 11 at all speeds. Most of my miles are run pretty slow, so this is very cushy, very comfortable. But when I need to pick up the pace, when I need to drop a tempo effort, when I need to run some intervals, this does fit the bill. The Deviate Nitro, I have also run slow miles in this shoe, and it is remarkably comfortable when running slow, which almost surprised me because I knew it was going to be fun when I picked up the pace, but I was more curious at how this shoe might feel when it was running slow, and I was pleasantly surprised. But as I've already alluded to, it's a real treat when you pick up the pace. And I think it's the same for every plated shoe. When you pick up the pace and you're getting tired because you're running a little faster, you're really putting in an effort, I find running in a plated shoe gives me something to focus on. If I can focus on this part of my foot and the feeling of running through the gait cycle, it almost gives me a little more energy. It's like I'm channeling that carbon plate and helping it push me forward. And that's about the only difference that I can come up with in running in both of these shoes. They are remarkably similar, and yet different. They feel different to run in. As far as fit goes, to me, they fit very similar. The heels on both of these shoes are very minimal. The 1080 version 11 has their ultra heel. It's just a very thin, almost like neoprene material. The heel collar is very, very thin. The heel counter has like a little piece of plastic inside which gives it a little bit of rigidity. But still, there's minimal stuff touching around the outside of your foot. The Deviate Nitro is very similar. You can see here, the heel collar, very, very thin. The heel counter is also, I'd say it's a little less rigid than the 1080 version 11, but there is no padding on the back. The padding for the Deviate Nitro comes on the side. There's these little foam bumpers on each side which kind of grip the outside of your foot. A lot of people have experienced heel slip in this shoe, but I haven't. I found this very comfortable to run in, and living in Florida, I found this a little more comfortable to run in just because it's not light as in weight, but the upper is a little more lightweight. Does that make sense? A little bit of a contradiction. Well, let me put it this way. The upper is thinner. This is a hyper knit. Obviously, it's going to hold warmth and it's going to get a little more weight when it gets wet. This engineered mesh kind of sheds sweat or doesn't hold on to it as much. As far as grip on both these shoes, honestly, I can't say I noticed a difference. I don't run in the wet very often. Well, I can't say that. I'd say I run in the wet a little bit every time I go out for a run just because the sprinklers are on and they're making the roads wet. But as far as a slip test, I haven't slipped. I haven't fallen over, so if that's enough for you to say that both these shoes are very grippy, then good. It's funny that before I started this video, I hadn't actually made up my mind on which shoe I would choose if I could only choose one. And now that I've come to this point in the video when I have to make a decision on which shoe I would choose, I'm still having a very difficult time. The New Balance 1080 version 11 is a wildly popular shoe. It's been out for a long time. Puma, although they've been around as a company for a very long time, they're kind of having somewhat of a resurgence. And I think they've done a pretty good job with coming out with this Deviate Nitro. Okay, so here goes, this is it. If I had to choose one of these shoes, and listen, I think I'm biased because this is a newer shoe to me than this. I've been running in this for a little while. I would go with the Puma Deviate Nitro, and that's because I live in Florida and it's very hot here. And the idea of this upper kind of shedding sweat or not holding on to as much weight is very attractive. I do really enjoy the feeling of a plated shoe, and the Deviate Nitro is also very pleasant to run in when I'm running slow. Now, even though it's a plated shoe, Puma does market this as an up-tempo trainer. This is a daily trainer, but you can pick up the pace very well in it. To be honest, I wouldn't choose one shoe over the other for racing. I think I just like the way this rides a little more than this. But that's only because you put me on the spot. I could think about it and come back in 10 minutes and decide that the 1080 version 11 was for me. I guess in a nutshell, what I'm saying is I can't commit and I'm glad I have both shoes. And I will link to both of these shoes in the show notes below. My friends, if you run in the New Balance 1080 version 11 or the Puma Deviate Nitro, let me know what you think of them in the comments below. If you like running shoe reviews, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I post new running videos at least twice a week. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.